And we are live once again here. It's Callaway Day in the THP Showcase, in the THP Tech Studio. My name is Dan Ayers. You probably are familiar with me at this point if you joined us before. Today we are joined with Luke Williams from Callaway Golf, talking a little bit about Odyssey putters, I think. But I want to kick it off a little bit and say, how are you doing, Luke? And of course, thanks for joining.
Yeah, happy to be here. Always happy to talk with you guys. This is an exciting time of year for us. I'm sure I know you guys have been talking about the rest of our product line with Dave, and I think you have Jason coming up. So this is a fun time of year for us because we get to finally launch these products that we've been working on for so long. And that, we've been kind of had to kind of keep secret from the world. So now we can talk about them and share them with everyone. And that's always exciting for us.
Yeah, so we spent some time with DNEVs talking about the Apex lineup, and I'm curious what's in your bag right now.
So I have a set of Apex Pro irons that are on their way. I should have them any day, so I'm excited about those. I've been playing the Epic Speed driver now for a little while, so I've got a few rounds in on that, which has been awesome. But I'm really excited to get the irons in play.
You sound excited.
Well, this is what I sound like when I'm excited. But I've had the same irons for like 2 years. I've been playing the older Apex Pros. I had the Apex MBs. Had a cup of coffee in my bag. But I'm ready for the new ones, the new Apex Pros for sure.
And I'm assuming playing a blade putter this year?
Yeah. I've got one of the new White Hot OG number 7s in play. I've also been messing around with a prototype that we have that isn't part of this launch. But yeah, always a mallet for sure.
That's quite the tease.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're always working on, it's fun for us to play with stuff that,
one of the questions we're getting over and over is what would it take to get Dan into a mallet because he's firmly entrenched in the blade camp.
And before you answer that, I want to make a point of saying I was fit at ECPC for a blade.
Yeah. It seems like that's going to be hard to get out of his bag. I would think if we could get him to try a few mallets, we might find something that performs a little better for him. But, I understand there are people out there that are committed to using
bad
blades.
Decisions.
Yeah, I mean, not everyone has great judgment, but we make blades too. So I'm happy that people enjoy those and use them, even if it's maybe not in their best interest to do so.
Speaking of usage, I saw a statistic on Twitter today that I had no idea was that significant. Something about 77 to 19 as the closest competitor out there.
Yeah. We've been absolutely crushing it on the European tour lately, really most of last year, and obviously just getting going this year. But at Abu Dhabi this week, we had 77 Odyssey putters in play. Our closest competitor had 19. So
I need to ask a follow-up to that.
Ass whooping, but
in your best Sean Toulon impression, how would you describe that?
Well, he said, what was his tweet? Was something like, love the smell of when you open a fresh can of whoop ass or something like that. Like that. I think, I think that's fair to describe as an ass whooping.
Was that an after dark perspective?
I don't know. No, that was he sent that out this morning. He was spicy this morning. So
was he wearing pastels?
Yes, he has a lovely sort of light, peachy colored cashmere sweater on.
Cashmere, guaranteed.
He knew it was.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. So why don't we talk a little bit about the new putter lineup you have? I have one right here. Intentionally, Luke, it is the only shape we should be too concerned with. It is the blade. White Hot OG number 1. And the one thing I noticed right out of the gate, on the bottom of the putter, you have 20 years of performance. So I'm assuming this is a pretty serious release for you guys.
Yeah, I mean it's a big deal for us. It's bringing White Hot back is something that we've been talking about for a few years. We've been a little bit reluctant to do so because we've had different inserts over the years where we've brought new technologies and new innovations that we know have performance advantages over White Hot, but there's such a strong following out in the marketplace and especially on tour for White Hot. And we continue to get requests for it. Tour players beg us to bring it back. We actually, even last year when White Hot wasn't in line for us, it was still our most popular insert on tour. So some of those were putters that were originally made with the White Hot insert. And then some of them were more recent models that we put White Hot inserts into for players, which is something that we would do somewhat reluctantly, but it was sort of on the secret menu if you were a tour player that really demanded.
I love a secret menu.
Yeah, eventually they could get it. But now it's great to be able to, be actively promoting it and selling it and giving, everyone out there an opportunity to get their own.
Yeah, so speaking of which, we actually have James here in the tech studio.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the 2-ball,
Nice.
particularly familiar head shape if you know anything about anything as it relates to Odyssey. Why don't you give it a couple rolls, and maybe, Luke, if there's anything else you want to walk through about the lineup, you can do that now.
Yeah. So that's the 2-ball. That's certainly the putter. I would say, kind of the first putter that really put Odyssey on the map was the Rossi. And when Nick Faldo won the Masters in...
Is there any truth to the rumor that you invented the Rossi?
No, that was before my time. I did have some involvement in the 2-ball, the original 2-ball, which was that was a crazy project because it was... at the time, Dave Pells was on our staff, and he had a 3-ball putter that he had
that thing was
invented.
massive.
Sorry?
That was massive.
Yeah, it was massive. It was non-conforming. He had put some effort into it, but didn't quite get it to the finish line in a way that could be commercialized. But he believed in it as an alignment sort of story. And he encouraged us to do something with it. So we worked on designs, and it took, we spent probably over a year working on different designs kind of in the background and trying all these different combinations until we finally struck on the design that we took to market. So that's certainly the most, the putter model most associated with Odyssey. In the year that we launched it, in December of that year, we had a 50% market share with just that single putter alone, the 2-ball. So half of all the dollars spent on putters were spent on that model, which is incredible.
When you're thinking about White Hot and White Hot OG, you guys had White Hot 2.0.
Yeah.
What are the big differences? Is it strictly a material difference?
It's a sort of material and process difference. So the original White Hot, we went back to the original White Hot formulation, which is a 2-part cast urethane. So we cast sheets of the material, and then we use a laser to cut out the individual insert shapes. So that was how we did it originally. It was, and the insert was great. It was a great performer, but through the years, we tried to improve on the manufacturing process, tried to make it more efficient, tried to make it less expensive to manufacture the insert because that was an expensive way to do it. And we had some waste and things like that. So we had different versions through the years, but they were all not quite the same. They were close, and for some people, they were sort of indiscernible, the differences, but the best players in the world and those that are the most sort of sensitive could tell the difference. And so eventually we just decided to bring back the original formulation and manufacturing process and all of that. So that's what we have in the OG.
Another question we're getting quite a bit here is you guys have come out with a lot of putters that promote a forward roll, that have different technology.
Yeah.
And now you're going back to White Hot OG. This isn't necessarily saying that this is better than those.
No.
It's just different and popular, right?
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't. It's wildly popular and has some really unique characteristics. But in terms of pure roll performance, our micro hinge insert, our latest being the micro hinge star insert, is still our best performing insert. But White Hot has a really unique combination of sound, feel, and ball speed that golfers have gotten accustomed to. It's been a putter on tour. When we first launched it, players adopted it really quickly. It became very popular very quickly. And once we got a player into a White Hot insert, it was really hard for our competitors to get them out of it because they got really dialed in with the sound, feel, and the ball speed ratio. So the speed the ball's coming off the face. So when they would try something else, it would have a different sound, feel, or speed, and it was hard for them to switch. So at first that was great for us because it meant that if we could get someone into a White Hot insert, they were likely to stick in that insert, and we were less likely to lose them to a competitor if they were searching for something new. Then through the years, it became a little bit of a hassle for us because as we were trying to get our newer putters into play, some of the hardest putters to get out of play were our older White Hot putters. So, we were one of our biggest competitors, just the putters that we had out in play. So, from a pure roll performance standpoint, our micro hinge inserts are still better performers, but there's something about White Hot that's hard to beat for a lot of people.
So Luke, I've got Triple Track here in my hands. More importantly, I have Stroke Lab associated with. I saw some pictures out there on tour of a red Stroke Lab.
Yeah. Do
you want to share with those viewing what Stroke Lab will be as it relates to White Hot OG or maybe something coming down the line?
Yeah. So in the White Hot OG, we'll have two shaft offerings. We will have a steel offering. But then we have a new version of our Stroke Lab. The one that's going in the White Hot OG is it's a candy apple red. If you've watched any golf over the last couple of weeks, you've probably seen them out there. Leishman was using one. We've had a number play in kind of early days on the PGA Tour. I think this week we had 8 in play, which was the first week out in Europe. Well, not in Europe, in Dubai, but on the European Tour. The shaft is a little bit different than the original Stroke Lab. So the graphite section is a little bit longer, which makes the steel section a little bit shorter. The steel section is also stepless now. So there's a smoother transition from the graphite through the steel all the way to the tip. And
give James that putter so they can get an audible difference sound.
Sure. Yeah, this actually has micro hinge in it.
Okay.
And if you remember, Luke, I was out at Callaway a couple years ago playing some golf with you. Micro hinge has changed a little bit since then.
Yeah, that's our third generation of micro hinge inserts. So each generation has gotten progressively firmer. The first one we had, the black one, had micro hinges all the way across the face. It was very soft and had kind of a quiet sound, which some people really like, but others didn't feel like they were getting enough feedback. And I would say on tour, we heard pretty consistently that feedback. So the players really liked the way the ball rolled, but they wanted a little more sound and a little firmer feel. So for the next generation, which was White Hot micro hinge, we made it firmer. That got us most of the way there, but we went firmer yet again in micro hinge star, which is what was in what is in the Triple Track putters and what was in Stroke Lab Black. And that's the one that really started getting traction on tour. And that was definitely the most popular version.
That leads to a natural progression question that people are asking here is, will we see Triple Track and White Hot have a baby
Mhm.
and create a white hot triple track?
You may. We don't have any triple track versions coming out now. We're considering that potentially for the future. Triple track will not be going away. The triple track line we have now
Thank goodness.
will stay in line for this year, and we have more triple track in store for sure.
So I'm going to read off some rapid fire questions for you. First
Okay.
one is horrible. It's from Chef Critter. He says, can a brother get a broomstick putter?
Huh. We are actually working on
Oh, no.
an update to a broomstick as well as an arm lock putter. We're not ready to announce those yet. It'll be something more like the middle of the year, but yes, we'll have something for those that need that much help.
How many Odyssey putters is too many? Neil is asking.
To own
Yes.
or to have in the line? I've never heard of a number that's too many. I think too few. One is probably too few. And I don't think there's an upper limit, Neil. You can feel free to buy them all.
Including the blades?
You can even buy the blades. Yeah.
Okay,
sure.
great.
Yep.
What is the weirdest thing in your office?
The weirdest thing in the office?
Is that include him or not?
I have a bottle of Malort. That's pretty weird.
That's a tasty beverage.
Yeah. So that's thanks to you guys, someone from your crew.
I don't want to take credit for that.
Yeah. So
if Dan plays a mallet, will you drink a swig of that?
I would share a swig with him if he were smart enough to.
There's no truth to the rumor that cures COVID, by the way, for those asking.
Yeah.
It sounds like a
I'd
double
rather have
negative.
COVID.
What is your favorite shape and alignment in the line in all of Odyssey putters?
Yeah. I would say of all of them kind of through the years, the one that's typically works the best for me is the Marksman. So that long, thin line, similar to what we have on the number 10 now. The number 10 triple track, again, having a long line right down the middle. It really works for me for alignment. That's the best alignment tool for me. The 7, I would say, is second best because of the longer tracer lines. But for me, generally, if I can have one long line right behind the ball, I feel like it's super easy to aim. I know exactly where I'm aimed every time.
Sean Toulon has the Toulon Design line under Odyssey, and he names his putters after cities.
Yes. Yep.
You went to UCLA. You're a big UCLA fan. If there was an LA putter, what would be the emblem?
Ooh, that's a good question.
And would it be Ed O'Bannon?
Ed O'Bannon would be good. What would be a good one for LA?
Is Maurice Jones-Drew UCLA?
A Bruin would be good. Maurice Jones-Drew was from UCLA. Yes, is from UCLA. He was unbelievable. John Wooden would be good.
Oh, that is a good one.
I would obviously skew it toward
tax dollars?
UCLA. Sorry?
Tax dollars?
Tax dollars, yeah. You could play. There are plenty of those in LA for sure.
Kobe, somebody said. Bill Walton. There are some good ones.
Yeah, there are lots of icons in LA. So that would be good. We haven't named a putter Los Angeles, obviously, but that might have to make the list.
So Matt Dawson says, big fan of S hosels and the H7 hosels. Is there a reason the H7 is a little more sleek compared to the S?
It's mostly just an aesthetic thing. So some people like the shorter S kind of hosels. Some people like more the H7, which is kind of more like a flow neck that we would have in the non-Toulon Odyssey line. And a lot of it's personal preference. Some of it's just how they look on a particular head. So some heads look better with an H7 style hosel. Others seem to work better with the shorter slant neck. There is a weight difference too. Obviously, the longer hosels are heavier, and depending on the style of the head, sometimes we can afford that weight. Sometimes we have to be a little stricter with our weight. So that would be something that would lean us more toward a short S neck versus something longer like an H7 or a Flow.
Which Odyssey is the most used on tour?
The number 7. Well,
By
I say
a lot,
that.
right?
The number 7, if you aggregate all of the different number 7s kind of through the years, is number 1. The Toulon San Diego is very popular, and in any given week, it's often the number 1 model, because the number 7s, we would have White Hot OG 7s, and we would have XG 7s, and we would have XO 7s, and so lots of different flavors of 7s. Whereas all the Toulons all come in as Toulon San Diego. So that would typically or often be the number 1 model in play, but probably in terms of shape, the number 7, especially if you aggregated like the Las Vegas style shapes into that.
KY Golfer would like to know why there is not a center shafted marksman.
Not a center shafted marksman. So
People don't buy center shafted putters.
Yeah, people don't really buy center shafted putters. We've been pretty good about having a center shafted option in our line. We don't in the OG line, and we've heard a little bit of feedback from that. The people that like center shafted putters are, tend to be vocal about it. So it's kind of a vocal minority, but it's an important kind of offering to have. I think that we've done in the past like a 2-ball center shaft, typically putters that have a center alignment, sort of either the balls or a line. If you put a center shaft in it, you sort of disrupt that alignment visual. So they tend not to work as well as models that maybe have a back flange line. Those seem to work best for center shafted models.
Who chooses city names for Toulon, and why does Nashville not have one?
It's sort of a group effort. We'll come up with a design, and then we pick the original designs that they came out with before even we acquired them. Were all cities that had some meaning to their kind of family. Sean grew up in Madison, Wisconsin, for instance. So that was one of the first ones. His boys went to University of San Francisco. So San Francisco was one. And then we since have tried to pick.
Surprised Vista doesn't have one.
No, trust me. We've talked about a Vista. We tried to pick cities that have, a golf, some tie to golf or golf heritage. The Indianapolis was chosen because that was clearly a design that was inspired by kind of race cars and that look. But yeah, and we have actually had a Nashville. We had a prototype for a Nashville that we were planning to bring to market, and it hasn't made the cut yet.
Make it a mallet.
It was a mallet, yeah.
And do you choose Music City or do you choose Hot Chicken?
I'm trying to remember for the logo for that one was musically inspired, not
Okay.
Hot Chicken. I haven't had. I need to experience the Hot Chicken. Maybe
we need to get you out here.
Pick that logo.
Based
I know.
on
I love
earlier this
Nashville.
week, I think it would just be a bunch of flames, right? No hot chicken.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that James had a hot chicken challenge with Keenan from True Temper and ended up having to eat something incredibly spicy.
I saw that was going on, but I didn't see the end result. I did see your hot chicken burrito from, what was that, a week or two ago, and that looked.
Yeah, that's what I had a couple nights ago too. It was quite good.
Yeah, that looked delicious. That looked logo worthy.
Yeah, we can work on that. I mean, I don't know if Nashville and burrito kind of goes well.
No, it doesn't seem like a natural fit, but it sure looked good.
What is the plan for White Hot OG? We're getting a lot of questions like, it kind of, you could go on forever with it, or do you still have other lines you want to continue with?
Yes, we will have other lines, and we will have other inserts that we bring to market. I think we've seen now that we've introduced White Hot OG and brought it back, it's clearly struck a nerve, and there's a lot of love and sort of pent up demand for it. So I could see it continuing in our line going forward and having, different iterations and designs through the years. I would say at this point, based on the early response, and if that, carries through and we see that kind of acceptance in the marketplace, we'd be foolish to not carry forward with OG, with White Hot. So I think it's likely to have a place in our line for the foreseeable future. Yeah.
So when it comes to Odyssey putters, and you obviously have Toulon doing wonderful things there as well, is that always going to be the differentiator? Is that Odyssey's going to lean more towards that insert style, and Toulon's likely going to maintain that milled face style?
Yeah, that's our plan. We're using Toulon as our milled putter brand, and where in the rest of the Odyssey line, inserts will come and go as we develop new technologies, and sort of product lines and names will come and go with those. We plan to keep Toulon as our milled line and keep that brand consistent going forward. So
I know there's tinkering going on tour for the guys, seeing some different milling varieties on the Toulon side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any traction for that when it comes to a full-on release? Or are we going to see that continuation of what you guys have been working with?
We're looking into that a lot. We look at our milled face patterns, similarly to the way we do our inserts. So we look at different designs and their effect on performance, sound, feel. We get some interest from tour players for different types of face patterns, like you mentioned. So we do some kind of one-offs. I'd say you're likely to see some of that get commercialized through our small batch program, over the course of this next year. And when we introduce a new line of Toulon putters would be when we would consider a new face pattern.
Josh, I want to go off track a little bit here. I know we have a diverse audience in the crowd, but one thing that THP and Callaway has been doing in the past, and it'll continue this year, is the Granddaddy. You've been a big part of that.
Yeah,
I enjoyed my year with you. Obviously, we had a lot of fun.
I'm sure you did.
10 p.m. Luke is something everybody should experience.
The back of the van was a change of my perspective, quite frankly. Do you have any early predictions, even though the team isn't filled out yet?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think this is going to end up being the most anticipated Granddaddy yet, given the circumstances, the fact that we weren't able to have it next year. So it's sort of, it's going to be a 2-year build for this one, as opposed to the typical 1-year build. We get a kick out of, we love the event. It's great for us to play in as well, and to get to spend time with you guys. But just the whole lead up to it, and the announcement of the players, and starting to kind of get to know them and their personalities, and I
feel like Luke's telling us we should do one of the contests soon.
Is that what's going on?
Well, how many do we have now? 4?
No, there's 6, I believe.
Oh, okay, right.
Maybe 5.
Yeah,
I should probably know this.
Yeah,
we might have our team
but
filled long before the Zoo Crew is filled out at this point.
That's probably true.
So yeah, we also, because then there was also the Grandmama, which was sort of the consolation event, and then that got canceled. So those guys got rolled in. Not surprisingly, they took that opportunity. So anyway, it's fun as we get to see them join. It'll be fun to get to spend time with Clayton again. It'd be good to have him back. So I'm looking forward to meeting the guys. I'm looking forward to playing with them all, seeing what kind of equipment they end up in.
Do you have any
And,
early predictions?
well, I predict we're going to win. I mean, obviously.
I meant with their equipment.
Oh, yeah, they're gonna fall somewhere between Apex Pro and Apex MBs probably in their irons. They'll all have non-stock offerings for shafts. They'll be playing shafts. Well, they'll get fit, so I think they'll end up in shafts that they can handle. And they'll probably be asking for the tour issue only triple diamond drivers, putters that
It's like you've
that
been
we
through
don't
this
typically
before.
sell. I mean, that I'd be disappointed. I would say I'd be disappointed if they didn't hold true to form. They need to represent you all, as best they can, and that's going to require them to have some golf nerdy stuff to play.
The guys have been picking on me this week. I've been hitting the Apex lineup, but I've also been hitting X-Forge CB and fallen pretty much in love with them. What do you think I'm playing this year, Luke?
I saw you were doing the X-Forge CB versus Apex Pro face-off.
It's been an emotional time. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, those are classy problems to have if you gotta make a choice.
He's literally an emotional wreck over this decision.
I don't know. Can you lean on me a little bit and give me something?
I would say I'm in a similar boat to you. Those are kind of the two that are in my consideration set, and I'm going Apex Pro.
Okay.
I like the shape a little bit better. It's got a little less offset, little thinner top line. It's plenty forgiving. They both look good in the bag, but I'm gonna go Apex Pro, and then I'm gonna have an X Forged UT in my bag, which so I'll get a little bit of that flavor as well.
Okay.
But that's where I'm leaning.
So that doesn't help me at all, but I'm really excited for you.
Well, I don't know why you wouldn't follow my lead.
Well, we've seen how that goes with mouths, so
you should. Okay. So you'll probably play the MB irons then.
We skipped a step. Wow.
Well, we want to thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
We want to remind everybody we have Jason Finley coming tonight. We're calling it Drinks with Jason Finley because it's 7:00 Eastern time, 6:00 here. And do you think we should have Jason Finley do live commentary of a contest?
Of like a Granddaddy contest?
No, just a contest of the guys in the simulator. We'll give something away.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah.
Do you think it's safe without a 7-second delay?
He can probably behave himself if you set the parameters for him.
Okay.
But yeah, he can talk. He could tell him to do his like Phillip Rivers trash talk. So like dadgummit.
So what you're saying is he's retired.
Well, I'd say Phillip Rivers was a phenomenal trash talker, and he kept it clean. So see if
I think that was he kind of has to.
Yeah, that's sort of yeah, and it's also just sort of his shtick, right? So if Finley can do it in his kind of Phillip Rivers mindset, I think you should be fine.
I think we're going to have to do that. Jason on the mic should be a lot of fun talking golf ball. So please come back for that one, guys, later at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And if you like what you're seeing so far this week, subscribe and like the video. Got to get all that out of the way. And again, thank you to Luke for coming on. And if you have additional questions, drop them in the thread. We will make sure that Luke gets them.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Good to see you guys.